pulling it up? I'm gonna pull it up also. Yeah, pull it. I gotta pull it up too. I'll start reading the translation. He who has brought the divine treasure of love and who has filled with compassion and mercy, where is such personality as Advaitacharya? Where are my Swarup Damodar and Rupa Goswami? Where is Sanatan? Where is Raghunath Das, the savior of the fallen? Where is my Raghunath Bhatta and Gopal Bhatta? And where is Krishnadas Kaviraj? Where did Lord Gauranga, the great dancer, suddenly go? I will smash my head against the rock and enter into the fire. Where will I find Lord Gauranga, the reservoir of all wonderful qualities? Being unable to attain the association of Lord Gauranga, accompanied by all of his devotees, and whose association he performed his pastimes, Narottam Das simply weeps. All right, I'm gonna wait. Okay. Jayanilo Premadana Karuna Pracho Jayanilo Premadana Karuna Pracho Prabhu Kota Gera Acharya Tato Prabhu Kota Gera Acharya Tato Prabhu Kota Gera Bhavo Baba Sangira Sangye Le Koelo Vila Paramahamsa, Parvikaracharya, Swatarshata Shishiman, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki, Shri Madhvācārya's Tirobha Mahamotsav Ki. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Alright, so Chaitanya Charitamrita, chapter, or Madhya Lila, chapter 9, text 245. So word for word. So Madhvācārya Stane Alila Ayla Yahan Tatvavadi Udupite Krishna Eki Tahan Ayla Prema Udmadi. Madhvācārya Stane Ayla Yahan Tatvavadi Udupite Krishna Eki Tahan Ayla Prema Udmadi. Krishna Deki Tahan Ayla Premamadi. Madhvācārya Stane Ayla Yahan Tatvavadi. Udupite Krishna Deki Tahan Ayla Premamadi. Madhvācārya Stane Ayla Yahan Tatvavadi. Udupite Krishna Deki Tahan Ayla Premamadi. Madhvācārya Stane Ayla Jahan Tatvavadi. Udupite Krishna Deki Tahan Ayla Premamadi. Madhvācārya Stane Ayla Jahan Tatvavadi.
Madhvācārya sthāne aila jahan tattvavādi. Udupite Krishna deki tahan hoila premonadi.
Madhvācārya sthāne aila janha tattvavādi.
Madhvācārya sthāne aila jahan tattvavādi.
Udupite Krishna deki ahan haila premanvati.
Udupite Krishna deki tahan hoila premonadi.
Apologies.
Madhvācārya sthāne aila jahan tattvavādi. Udupite Krishna deki tahan hoila premonadi.
Okay. So word for word. So Madhvācārya sthāne, at the place of Madhvācārya. Aila, arrived. Yaha, where? Tattvavādi, philosophers known as Tattvavādis. Udupite, at the place known as Udupi. Krishna, the deity of Lord Krishna. Jeki, seeing. Tahan, there. Aila, became. Premo Anmadi, mad in ecstasy. Okay. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. All right, and I won't read the full purport, I'll read most of it though. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu next arrived in Udupi, the place of Madhvācārya, where the philosophers known as Tattvavādis resided. There he saw the deity of Lord Krishna and became mad with ecstasy. Report. Sripad Madhvācārya took his birth near Udupi, which is situated in the South Karna district of South India, just west of Sahyadri. This is the chief city of the South Karna province and is near the city of Mangalore, which is situated to the south of Udupi. Near the city of Udupi is a place called Pakaja, where Madhvācārya took his birth in Shilavali Brahmana dynasty as the son of Madhya Bhatta, and the year 1040 Shakabda, AD 1118. According to some, he was born in the year 1160 Shakabda, AD 1238. In his childhood, Madhvācārya was known as Vasudev, and there were some wonderful stories surrounding him. It is said that once when his father had piled up many debts, Madhvācārya converted tamarind seeds into actual coins to pay them off. When he was 5 years old, he was offered the sacred thread. A demon named Manimam lived near his abode in the form of a snake, and at the age of 5, Madhvācārya killed that snake with the toe of his left foot. When his mother was very much disturbed, he would appear before her in one jump. He was a great scholar even in childhood, and although his father did not agree, he accepted sannyas at the age of 12. Upon receiving sannyas from Achyuta Preksha, he received the name Purna Prajna Tirtha. After traveling all over India, he finally discussed scriptures with Vijaya Sankara, the exalted leader of Sringeri Mutt. Vijaya Sankara was actually diminished in the presence of Madhvācārya, accompanied by Satyatirtha. Madhvācārya went to Badrik Ashram. It is there that he met Vyasadeva and explained his commentary on the Bhagavad Gita before him. Thus he became a great scholar by studying before Vyasadeva. By the time he came to Anandamat from Badrik Ashram, Madhvācārya had finished his commentary on the Bhagavad Gita. His companion Satyatirtha wrote down the entire commentary. When Madhvācārya returned from Badrik Ashram, he went to Ganjama, which is on the bank of the river Godavari. There he met with two learned scholars named Sobhana Bhatta and Swami Shastri. Later these scholars became known in the disciplic succession of Madhvācārya as Padmanabha Tirtha and Narahari Tirtha. When he returned to Udupi, he would sometimes bathe in the ocean. On such an occasion, he composed a prayer in 5 chapters. Once, while sitting beside the sea, engrossed in meditation upon Lord Krishna, he saw that a large boat containing goods for Dwarka was in danger. He gave some signs by which the boat could approach the shore, and it was saved. The owners of the boat wanted to give him a present, and at that time, Madhvācārya agreed to take some gopi chandan. He received a big lump of gopi chandan, and as it was being brought to him, it broke apart and revealed a large deity of Lord Krishna. The deity had a stick in one hand and a lump of food in the other. As soon as Madhvācārya received the deity of Krishna, in this way he composed a prayer. The deity was so heavy that not even 30 people could lift it. Yet Madhvācārya personally brought this deity to Udupi. 8 of Madhvācārya's sannyas disciples became directors of his 8 monasteries. Worship of the Lord Sri Krishna deity is still going on at Udupi according to the plans Madhvācārya established. Madhvācārya, for the second time, visited Badrika Ashram. While he was passing through Maharashtra, the local king was digging a big lake for the public benefit. As Madhvācārya passed through that area with his disciples, he was also obliged to help in the excavation. After some time, when Madhvācārya visited the king, he engaged the king in that work and departed with his disciples. Often in the province of Ganga Pradesh, there were fights between Hindus and Muslims. The Hindus were on one bank of the river, and the Muslims on the other. Due to the community tension, no boat was available for crossing the river. The Muslim soldiers were always stopping passengers on the other side, but Madhvācārya did not care for these soldiers. He crossed the river anyways, and when he met the soldiers on the other side, he was brought before the king. The Muslim king was so pleased with him that he wanted to give him a kingdom and some money, but Madhvācārya refused. While walking on the road, he was attacked by some dacoits, but by his bodily strength, he killed them all. When his companion Satyatirtha was attacked by a tiger, Madhvācārya separated them by virtue of his great strength. When he met Vyas, he received from him the Salagram Sila known as Ashtamurti. After this, he summarized the Mahabharata. Madhvācārya's devotion to the Lord and his erudite scholarship became known throughout India. Consequently, owners of the Sringeri Mutt, established by Shankaracharya, became a little perturbed. At that time, the followers of Shankaracharya were afraid of Madhvācārya's rising power, and they began to tease Madhvācārya's disciples in many ways. There was even an attempt to prove that the disciplic succession of Madhvācārya was not in line with Vedic principles. A person named Pundarik Puri, a follower of the Mayavad philosophy of Shankaracharya, came before Madhvācārya to discuss the Shastras. It is said that all of Madhvācārya's books were taken away, but later they were found with the help of King Jayasimha, ruler of Kumla. In discussion with Pundarika Puri, Pundarik Puri was defeated by Madhvācārya. A great personality named Trivikram Acharya, who was a resident of Vishnu Mangala, became Madhvācārya's disciple, and his son later became Narayana-Acharya, the composer of Sri Madhva Vijay. After the death of Trivikram Acharya, the younger brother of Narayana-Acharya took sannyas and later became known as Vishnu Tirtha. It was reputed that there was no limit to the bodily strength of Purna Prajna, Madhvācārya. There was a person named Kandanjari who was famed for possessing the strength of 30 men. Madhvācārya placed the big toe of his foot upon the ground and asked the man to separate it from the ground. But the great strong man could not do so, even after great effort. Madhvācārya passed from this material world at the age of 80 while writing a commentary on the Aitareya Upanishad. For further information about Madhvācārya, one should read Madhva Vijay by Narayana-Acharya. So I'll stop there. because anyways, not that it's, the next part discusses more of like the monastery and the sannyasis there and stuff. So I'll stop there. So Om Gana Timanandasya Ganan Janjana Salakaya Chakshrodanam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakadamayam Dadati Swapanantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shukta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishtamam Sa Shri Rupam Sagajatam Sagaram Raganaptam Itam Tam Chajivam Savadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saritam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Vadan Sahakananaditam Shri Vishakamitam Scha Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vikaswamani Namane Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamani Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nivisheshu Sunivani Pasyatatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Shri Chaitanya Prabhu Mandaya Prasada Sayaviryataha Sangadat Yat Karavata Agda Siddhanta Sanmanim Madhvācārya Stani Alila Yahan Tatpavadi Udupite Krishna Deki Tahan Aila Premamadi. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu next arrived at Udupi, the place of Madhvācārya, where philosophers known as the Tatpavadis resided. There he saw the beautiful deity of Lord Krishna and became mad with ecstasy. So today is the disappearance of Madhvācārya, and so anyways, first off is that we can just see by reading the purport that Madhvācārya has a great personalities, and our disciplic succession, there are so many great personalities. Even we have the main line that's given in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita. Not just a list of names, but the chain. But even outside of that, there are also so many great personalities. And anyways, it goes without saying, but I have no qualification to speak on Madhvācārya or any of these great personalities. But this in particular, just so the context of this text, so in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Lord Chaitanya is traveling around, visiting different pilgrimage sites. And so he comes to Udupi and he takes darshan of the Krishna deity there, which was established by Madhvācārya, as we read in the purport. And so he liked that. And then when he's there, he meets with some of the followers of the Madhvas and has some slight discussion with them. And so I won't get so much into that, but when they see him, they kind of avoid him at first. Why do you think they avoid him at first? Can throw out any answer. Yeah. Yeah. So that's important actually, because they don't see him and think, oh, he's a Mayavadi, let's go associate with him, but they think, let's keep our distance. But then after some time they realize, okay, actually he's not a Mayavadi. So that's very important actually. So anyways, they have some type discussion, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu kind of asked, well, what's the goal of life? And then they say, well, the goal of life, anyway, I'm kind of paraphrasing, but it's like to follow one's varna and ashram, that this is like the highest. And then he's like, what are you talking about? And so he quotes some stuff from like the Shastras, from Bhagavatam, and saying, well, like pretty much like the quote, I'm paraphrasing a lot of things, but that the goal of life is there's like pure devotees, they don't aspire for like all these 5 types of liberation, like they're seen as insignificant. So then they're kind of defeated and they kind of like shy away a little bit. They're like, actually, he's right. So that's kind of the context of what's going on. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu kind of plays with them a little bit. So anyways, so it's understood that from this, I don't know if it's exactly Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, but it's mentioned that Lord Chaitanya, from the different prominent 4 Vaishnava Sampradayas, took 2 like main principles from them, and which he kind of elaborated upon. So from Madhvācārya, we come in that line, of course, but he took complete defeat of Mayavad philosophy in recognition of the deity form of the Lord as an eternal spiritual truth. So that's important for us to note. And specifically this point of complete defeat of Mayavad philosophy. And we'll talk about that a little bit later, but that's very intrinsic to our sampradaya, to our family. Prabhupada makes the point in one purport that we're part of the Chuta Gotra. So in India, people they ask, what's your lineage, where you come from? And some people, they can trace it back to different rishis and things like that. So for us, being initiated in this particular line, and when being connected a part of that spiritual family, so this is our Gotra. And so we should understand the mood of that, and we should know what that means. Like if someone, becomes a police officer, but then he has no idea the responsibilities of that duty, there's going to be problems. Like if he just, the police officer has to have a gun, he has to, shoot sometimes. He's to uphold the law, but if he has no idea of what that represents, it's going to be a problem. So we should have some understanding of our parampara and what it means to be a disciple, and and have some understanding of the history and of our lineage. So if we read Srila Prabhupada's books regularly, if we've read a good bit of, or most of all of them, or some of them, we see that Srila Prabhupada quotes Madhvācārya not so often, but in different purports and things. And I'm thinking specifically in the 4th canto, Prabhupada gives, some endnote or footnotes or whatever. He gives different texts. He gives kind of Madhvācārya's translations on things for additional I think verses or in some chapter or something. You know what I'm talking about, right? In there, yeah. I forget which. That's in the 4th canto. That's in I think it's maybe chapter 29 or something. So. So Madhvācārya, though it's meant, there's different. He's probably made the point that it said his birth is like this, it said his birth is like that. I forget if it was 100 years or what difference actually, but about 100 years. So sometimes it's like that. It's not so clear. But anyways, so the one important point is that the acharyas come and they push forward Krishna consciousness, usually in a great way, in a very great and powerful way. And so the essence of Madhvācārya's, or one of the essences of Madhvācārya's legacy, is this defeat of Mayavad philosophy. And of course, just to defeat Mayavad philosophy, simultaneously to establish Krishna as a supreme personality of Godhead. And so we continue on with that legacy by serving Srila Prabhupada's mission. And it's important to kind of connect that and understand that also. That it's not disconnected, that one acharya comes and then he does something and then that's kind of it. And then it's that's, there's no connection with that. It's a parampara. So there's a connection with everything. It's, it's not that one acharya said something and then it's just well, that's kind of useless. There may be something that they explain according to time, place, and circumstance, which, may not be on the forefront, but the essence of what they came to establish should be understood, and there's a continuation of that. Like we see with Brahma and Narada Muni, that discussion in the 2nd canto. So Narada Muni is asking, well, are you supreme? And Brahma is saying, I'm not supreme. And then he explains these Chatur Slokis, and then our acharyas explain, he explains the process of creation, and then you can unpack that, and that explains our relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the activities that constitute that, and then the supreme goal of life. So that was explained and then that was explained to Brahma by Vishnu. He spoke those slokas, and then he elaborated upon that, explained that to Narada, and then that continues to the present day with our spiritual master and with us, and then that will continue to go on. This is disciplic succession. So by distributing Srila Prabhupada's books and by preaching Krishna consciousness and living that and reading and living the teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Bhagavad Gita, etc., we establish Krishna as Supreme Personality of Godhead, and simultaneously we oppose impersonalistic conclusions and notations. We don't support that. I don't really want to get so much in that, but we don't. We're opposed to Mayavad philosophy and impersonalism. We're not okay with it, and we should also not. What's the word I'm looking for? But we shouldn't publicly or in any way pass off like Mayavad and impersonalism as like something that's okay. We should like be pretty clear about it. Like we should be pretty black and white about that. And I remember there's one, not like a story, but anyways, Rupanuga Prabhu told me one time that I forget exactly what there was, but there was like some event, and so Prabhupada was asking different disciples like if he should go to this event. I forget if it was like some parade or like some gathering or whatever exactly. And so he was asking different disciples. So one disciple was saying, yeah, if we went, it'd be like really good. Like there'll be a lot of people there, this and that. Like it'd be good. Then he asked like Rupanuga Prabhu, like what he thought. Rupanuga Prabhu was saying he thought it was a bad idea because if Prabhupada goes to like this event and he's a part of like, this crowd, then people will think that he approves of like all these bogus people and it won't look good. And then Prabhupada was saying like, yes, that's correct. Like we won't go. So Prabhupada in his different pastimes made it clear that he wasn't in line with Mayavad. And so Madhvācārya, similarly, as we read here, and we see that he was strictly opposed to that, and he preached against that. And and so we can also note, so we can see from the lives of great acharyas and great devotees, they're always teaching us how to behave and how to act in certain circumstances. And we can see in Madhvācārya's line also, showing so much that we can learn actually. His strong faith in Krishna, in the Shastra also, and his faith that establishing the truth of Vedanta, despite the status quo at that time. So at that particular time, Madhvācārya, when he came, so just to give some background to that, so I don't know exactly where this is from, but His Holiness Bhakti Vikas Maharaj cites this in class he gives on Madhvācārya, but he makes the point that the demigods, that they were, Brahma was like concerned about what was going on the planet at the time, because the Buddhism philosophy had just spread, and so Sankaracharya had came and then pushed that back. But as we understand, the Mayavada philosophy isn't so much different from the Buddhist philosophy, because Buddhism says that there is no God, and then the Mayavad said that everything's God. So Brahma was concerned about the situation of the earth at that time, and I took some notes, but anyways, everything's kind of all out of order, and I can't even see it. Maybe it's gone or something. But anyways, I'll find it eventually. Oh, it's right there. So Brahma was very concerned, so he went to Vishnu and he's like, hey, this is a situation. It's really bad on the earth, and I know it's not time for you to come, but can you do something? So Vishnu said that he'll do something about it, and so he chose Vayu to come down to the earth, and so Vayu is Madhvācārya. Then we also understand too that he is also Bhima and Hanuman, and so he came down, and then so that was to defeat this Mayavad philosophy of Sankaracharya, this Advaitavad. And so Madhvācārya's philosophy is Dvaitavad, or Tattvavad also. And let me see, I thought I saved something about what that exactly is. So I'll just read a little bit here. So this is from the Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila chapter 7, text 110. So Prabhupada says here, you don't have to pull this up. So the purpose of the discussions in the Upanishads and Vedanta Sutra is to philosophically establish the personal feature of the absolute truth. The impersonalists, however, in order to establish their philosophy, accept these discussions in terms of lakshana vritti, or indirect meanings. Thus, instead of being tattvavad, or in search of the absolute truth, they become mayavad, or illusioned by the material energy. When Sri Vishnu Swami, one of the four acharyas of the Vaishnava cult, presented his thesis on the subject matter of Shuddha Dvaitavad, immediately the Mayavadis took advantage of this philosophy and tried to establish their Advaitavad, or Kevala Dvaitavad. To defeat this Kevala Dvaitavad, Sri Ramanuja Acharya presented his philosophy of Vishishta Dvaitavad, and Sri Madhvācārya presented his philosophy of Tattvavad, both of which are stumbling blocks to the Mayavadis because they defeat their philosophy in scrupulous detail. And that's important, scrupulous detail. Not kind of or a little bit, very clearly. Students of Vedic philosophy know very well how Sri Ramanujacharya's Vishishtadvaitavad and Sri Madhvācārya's Tattvavad contested the impersonal Mayavad philosophy. And so, just to kind of go a little bit more on that vein, so Madhvācārya's philosophy is, like we're saying, is Dvaitavad. And so there's that famous picture of Madhvācārya where he's holding up two, and to make, like that, there's a difference between Jiva and Ishvara, Krishna. And so anyways, Mayavada philosophy, and discuss it again and again, but their philosophy is that there is no difference ultimately. And there's different understandings of that the Supreme, is ultimately formless, and that the body's material and such like that. And so anyways, particularly at that time, so that was being pushed, that ultimately that the Jiva and the Supreme Lord are one, and like that, and the purpose and the goal of life is to merge into the effulgence of the Supreme Brahman, and that's the perfection. And the Vedas are meant for that, and the Vedanta and the Upanishads, everything is for that end. And so anyways, it's incorrect. And so that was the main thought at the time. That was what was popular, and that's what people studied, and that's what most scholars were. They had that line. So Madhvācārya, he deviated from that. He wasn't, so at first when he was speaking and explaining this philosophy, people were thinking, well, he's going against the Vedas, actually, that this isn't proper, that he's not upholding that. And so anyways, by his erudite scholarship, he showed and proved that actually this is the conclusion of Shastra. And so he very much so upheld that. And of course, I'm kind of shrieking down a lot of these different things because it could be discussed a lot. There's not enough time for that. There's so much that actually he did to establish that. So just a little bit here. So Madhvācārya, so he wrote some commentaries on Vedanta Sutra, Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and Mahabharata. And so he established that, as we were saying, that standard in the Udupi temple. So to go here, so I'll read something here from, this is from Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his Dasamula Tattva. So, let's see. So according to Sri Ramanujacharya, the Supreme Lord is the only reality and truth. Yet he accepts the distinct designations, designations of Chit and Achit. Sri Madhva preached that the Jiva is distinct and separate from the Supreme Lord, Dvaita, but his inherent nature is to be subordinate to the Lord and to serve him. So that's also important, because we're speaking here that to defeat Mayavad, okay, that there's a difference, but then what's the point of that difference? So, okay, if the Jiva and Bhagavan are separate and different, then what's the point? And so the point is that the Jiva's purpose is to be subordinate and to serve him. So that establishes bhakti, which we follow, and which is the purpose of the Vedas, is to serve Krishna and to worship him, and also to serve Krishna and love his devotees. And like that. And then there's a relationship. And then that relationship, the devotee serves Krishna, and then Krishna serves the devotees. And Krishna says that in Bhagavad Gita. It was that Tesam Satayuktanam Bhajatam Priti Purvakam Dadami Buddhi Yogatam Yena Mamupayanti Te. Krishna says that those who are devoted and worship with love, he gives them the intelligence by which they can come to him. So it's reciprocal. So devotees are worshiping Krishna with love, and then Krishna is pleased with that, and then he thinks, well, let me help you come towards me. Let me help you engage more in the process of Krishna consciousness and give you intelligence. And then like that. And then the next verse explains that he dispels the darkness born of ignorance in the heart of his devotees. So continuing this, so Sri Nimbarkar's philosophy is that the Jiva and the Supreme are simultaneously different and non-different, Dvaita Advaita, thus confirming the eternal difference between them. Sri Vishnu Swami preached that although the absolute reality or truth is one, yet divinity and humanity are eternally different. Thus, although apparently there are variations in these four Vaishnava philosophies, yet they all unanimously propose the eternality of devotional service to the Supreme Lord, that the Supreme Lord is eternal, Jiva's servitorship to the Lord is eternal, and the ultimate goal is love of God at Prema Bhakti. So that's important also, that's the point of all the sampradayas, is that they have that same point, although there may be like a little bit differences like here and there as far as like some technical points go and maybe things like that, or where the eternal residence of service is, whether that's in Vaikunta or what particular realm in Vaikunta or what particular form of Bhagavan, like that. So let me see here. So it's important, anyways. So it's important to have kind of like this understanding of like why Madhvācārya came and the purpose of that, and to defeat Mayavad. I've spoken some on that. I'll speak something on his life, maybe just highlight some stuff here from the purport. And I have this other little thing, or this essay also. I guess I'll read through some of that. But the thing is that if we become like overly obsessed with the stories, but then we don't understand the reason these acharyas come, then that's not like complete. Then it's kind of like something like Zen Buddhist stories, where it's like kind of tell some cool little story about whatever, somebody gave a donation and then they gave it with their heart, so then whatever, like someone was like happy by that, and then that's like, you know, whatever. It's like there's no like what to speak. Anyway, there's so many different things like that. Anyways, I'll restrain myself, but there's tons of things online by people that tell funny little stories, and then they have no Krishna conscious like conclusion. So the thing is that that they just tell stories in and of themselves. So we have to understand the purpose behind that, and the reason why Madhvācārya like came to this planet and what his mission was, and with all the acharyas actually, because if we get caught up just in the stories, which is okay, but then okay, what did they exactly come to show us, and what did they come to teach? So we should also know that, and we should understand that. So Madhvācārya came to defeat this Mayavad and to help push on the mission of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and to establish Krishna consciousness. And so he did that by writing books, by traveling and preaching and such. And so let's see here. So I'll pull up some things from this. I'll read from some of this essay some and talk a little bit more just about his life. So Madhvācārya's father, I'm reading from something else now, Sri Madhya Bhatta, and his wife originally lived in Kadiyali, a small village near Udupi. So agreed by the loss of two sons. So they had some children, but then they lost their children somehow. They passed away, which is not uncommon in previous times actually. I don't exactly know here why, but there's different reasons. Like to have a child and childbirth, that's like an intense process, and sometimes and most of the time children wouldn't live through that. And then also too, just different things that can happen and such. So two of her children passed away, and then so every day Madhya and his wife would go to Udupi from Prajakshetra and pray to the deity for the blessings of a son. So then they engaged in, it's mentioned here, but they did some austerity for 12 years in order to get a son, and they did different like vratas and things like that, praying, for a son. And so that was also, and we can learn here too from that, that people in previous times, that if they wanted to have some offspring, it wasn't just like some surprise, whatever, you're pregnant or something. It was like they actually like planned for that, and then they performed different samskaras and things like that, and it was an offering to Vishnu. It was a joyous occasion, and there was purificatory processes performed as such. It was religious. And so like that, and it was to generate good offspring, which would help the world. So anyways, things are different nowadays. So one day during a temple festival, one of the priests climbed the flagpole and announced that soon the god of the wind Vaya would be born on earth and perform many uncommon deeds. Shortly thereafter, the prophecy was fulfilled, and the two were blessed with a male child who they named Vasudev, later to be known as Madhvācārya. And then some of these things we read. So then I won't read this thing, but then Madhvācārya, he performed different mystical activities. And so it's not exactly required, but sometimes the Acharyas and great devotees, they do these different things to, and there may be different reasons as that, to show they're unique or like that, or also to help their devotees or such. We see that Lord Chaitanya did different amazing mystical activities as such. So let's see here. Okay, so wonderful as Vasudeva was, his father, out of a filial affection, wanted to give him education. Thus he performed Akshara Abhyasam, the ceremony with which the child begins his schooling. One day, after his first studies, Vasudeva had a chance to test his learning. And in a nearby village of Nayapali, a Brahmana named Shiva was delivering verses on the Puranas, and Vasudev's parents had brought the young child with them to attend the discourse. A difficult passage came, and the Brahmana was visibly perplexed, unable to expound the clear meaning of the text. So the Brahmana is giving some talk and things, and then he came to a text, and then it's kind of like, a little bit stumped. I don't really know what that means and such like that. So we can imagine sometimes that happens at Bhagavatam class or whatever. We get to a verse and we're like, well, I don't really know what that means or understand that. So what was unique about that was Madhvācārya, he spoke, and then he explained actually what that meant. Everybody was like shocked and surprised actually, because he just began his studies, and then he's giving discourses. And it wasn't like nowadays, it's just like everything's on YouTube, and there's so many books, and then he just like does an Amazon Prime order, and then gets a book on the Puranas the next day with like English translation and commentary. It was different time actually, and it's maybe hard for us to imagine as such. But then he spoke actually what that meant, and then everybody was surprised. And then I think at this time that they understood that what was spoken previously about this priest that made this prediction about this great scholar that would be born and such, they understood, okay, that was them. And then I don't think it's mentioned here, but also an astrologer also said similarly that he would, let me see here, I wrote this down, and where'd I put it? So anyways, I don't even know where I put it. Oh, so an astrologer said that he'd be a great Acharya and he'd preach the message of the Vedas. So that was already kind of like predicted there. So anyways, they're seeing that like, well, actually this is happening. And so also to another important point, which is mentioned. So Vasudeva soon became known not only for his intellectual prowess, but for his physical strength as well. So there's so many different stories actually about Madhvācārya, where he's showing like his strength, and we heard some of those there, of him fighting and things like that. And we can understand too that also Bhima was similarly very strong, and Hanuman's also very strong. So Madhvācārya was like that. And different things, he would perform amazing activities. If mother would call from him, he would run away. It's described here that one day, close to his house, he was attacked by a powerful snake. And so that's mentioned there. So that snake was none other than the reincarnation of the great Maniman, a demon mentioned in Mahabharata. The serpent tried to kill the child, but Vasudeva crushed the serpent under his powerful toe. And then there's a place actually where that happened. So just by his toe, he crushed that snake. So it's probably some huge snake. It was crazy. So let's see. So then he was delayed, and so his mother was worried, and so it's described here that he jumped 800 yards. So it's pretty far. Anyways, jumped very far. So he's performing these amazing activities, and so it's shown that, well, this isn't just some ordinary person. This is someone extraordinary. And then those footprints are still there. There's a temple there like that. And so after the completion of his Sanskrit study at the age of 11, Vasudeva went in search of a guru who would initiate him into the renounced order of life, sannyas. Already at age 5, he had received initiation from the Brahminical priestly order. It was at Udupi that he found Achyuta Preksha, an Advaitin monk. He approached Achyuta Preksha with great respect and received his blessings. Living under his guidance, he became an obedient disciple. Meanwhile, Vasudeva's father was worried about the prolonged absence of his son from home. Madhya came to Udupi and found his beloved child in Achyuta Preksha's monastery. After discovering the intention of his son, Madhya tried to convince him to return home, but his efforts went in vain. Madhya went home under great distress. After relating the incident to his wife, the whole family was
plunged into a distressful condition, and his wife convinced Madhya to set out again in search of his beloved son and do everything possible to bring him home. So anyways, I believe it's mentioned. So he agreed to come home until like another son was born. And so, and then that happened, and then he left, and then he went to go and take sannyas. And so his father was really fried out actually about that, and was just like, and it's mentioned here that he threatened to kill himself, and he was just like, what is this? Like, you're going to take sannyas, like, don't do that. And so anyway, so then he's like, okay, like, not until another son is born, I will, I won't take sannyas. And so then another son born, and then he takes sannyas. And so it's also mentioned at one point too, I don't know if it's mentioned here, but it's mentioned that that Madhvācārya, that his father was begging him, like, don't take sannyas, like, please don't. And he was like grabbing his feet and like bowing down. And then Madhvācārya was saying, well, like, actually, like, only if the son becomes a sannyas will a father bow down and like touch his feet. So like you're kind of like confirming it. So anyways, like that. So then he took sannyas. And we can also see from that also that even though his, I'm assuming, it seems like it, but his parents were great devotees, of course, that still like he left that comfort of home to spread and preach Krishna consciousness. So we see that with great souls and great Vaishnavas and great acharyas and great devotees, that they take sannyas and they leave the comforts of their home and family, and they go and they spread Krishna consciousness. And they give their wealth, they give their life as a donation to the spiritual master and to the parampara, and to give everything that they have to spread Krishna consciousness. And so some people don't appreciate that. Some people do, but those who do that and take up that service and spread Krishna consciousness, everybody is greatly benefited by that. And so Madhvācārya did that. And so let's see here. So an interesting relationship between the two, guru and disciple, ensued. While Chuta was a staunch follower of the lineage of Shankar, Madhva was destined to start his own lineage, setting new light on the less developed scriptural conclusions of Shankar. Madhva differed from Shankar in many ways. He, like Ramanuja, maintained that Shankar had not given emphasis on the principal aphorisms of the Vedas, Pranava Omkar. Instead, in the view of Madhva, Shankar had diverted attention to scholarly dictums such as Tat Tvam Asi. Thus, according to Madhva, Shankar's teachings presented only partial knowledge of what the Vedas were, indicating not the whole picture. Shankar insisted on the oneness or identity of all things, so much so that in his vision of ultimate reality, all things, or separateness as such, ceased to exist. Madhva, on the other hand, insisted on 5 absolute eternal distinctions between Godhead, the individual soul, and matter, and the distinction between God and the finite souls, between God and the inanimate world of matter, between one finite soul and another, between the finite soul and matter, and between one inanimate object and another. So we can see, I mean, I don't have to explain those things, but we've learned all those things from reading Srila Prabhupada's books, from hearing classes from our own spiritual masters, and attending classes on the Srimad Bhagavatam. So we've learned those distinctions, and we've been taught those things, and we also speak those same things too. Let's see here. So I'll just read a couple more of these things, and then I'll wrap up. Let me see here if I have something else here. So let's see. So his philosophy, Advaita, emphasizes the eternal difference between the living entity and Godhead. So in this sense, his philosophy is directly opposed to Sankaracharya's Advaita non-dual doctrine. It is important to note, however, that both Madhva and Shankar concur that the duality that arises due to sense perception is illusory. Madhva's dualism is a transcendental viewpoint, and in order to arrive at this perception, one must allow the false ego to die and real ego to thrive in selfless service to Godhead. So that's like the Mayavad thing, right? I mean, we hear that nowadays, that you know ego, kill the ego, get rid of ego. But then the point is that, well, real ego is one's service, just a repersonality of Godhead. So let's see here. Let me read one more thing. I'll mention like anyway, there's a lot that we can say. I'll just mention maybe one more thing and then summarize with one point. But there's so much that can be said, actually. At some point, anyways, Prabhupada mentions in the purport, but there was some debate with some of the members of Sankaracharya's line, and then they got fried out, and then they stole some books from him and things like that. And then there was one debate also in not Srirangam, and Rameshwaram. And then there was debate, and they were trying to defeat him. I think it was there that Madhvācārya said that if you defeat me in a debate, then I'll break my danda, which is pretty much that he'll give up sannyas, his relationship with Guru, and just give up everything. So then they were trying to debate with him and beat him, and they couldn't defeat him. And so they got fried out with him, and then they were just trying to make things difficult for him and his disciples, and then telling all the shopkeepers don't give him any food and things like that. And in that way, just trying to make his life difficult. Madhvācārya is also known for eating huge amounts of prasadam. As I actually just ate it. It's popped up right here. But what does it say? Uncommon feats of strength, flying in the sky, causing on 2 separate occasions plants to sprout from seeds by singing a particular melody. So Madhva, another name is sweet. So I also described that he was a good singer. Eating 4,000 bananas, a lot of bananas, and 100 pots of milk at one sitting. Using small amounts of food to feed hundreds, meeting Vyasadeva at Badrinath, etc. Only the few wonderful feats of Madhvācārya. So there's all these amazing things. He went and met Vyas, so he got darshan on Vyas, and he studied under Vyas. Not very many people can say they did that, or even not very many people are even qualified. And then back in that time also, to even go up to Badrinath, it was a huge endeavor. It wasn't how it is now, trains and buses and cars. It wasn't like that back then. He had to walk. So he traveled like that, and he went there twice. And then also him eating so many bananas. It's also described that when he was young, I think he ate a whole bag of raw grains or something. And so if anybody's ever eaten raw grains, usually you can die from that. But then you also can lose your digestion for so many days. So so he ate so much, but then also he did so much, and so he was very active like that. And also similarly, he was very strong. There's also one instance of him telling some people that, okay, I'm going to sing, and then what you do is you just choke me, and then you try to disturb my singing. Someone's singing, and then you go and you grab their neck, then it messes up the singing. So many people tried to do that, and then he was still singing like no problem. And they were like, yo, this guy. And then also too, it's mentioned that with the one famous wrestler, he's just lift my toe off the ground. And so he wasn't able to do that. So he was super powerful and super strong like that. And so anyways, different nowadays. We don't really see so much of that. And it seems almost like a disconnect, that it's okay, if you're spiritual, then you neglect the body or whatever. Usually people, if they're intelligent, they're not so strong physically. But then anyways, both was there. And like we were saying, that's that Hanuman and Bhima Bhav. And so there's one story. I guess we just end here. I think it was in I forget which temple it was. Maybe it was a temple in Udupi. So Madhvācārya went in to do some worship. And so he was in there for some time. So some disciple was kind of what's going on in there? It's been been a while. So then he opened up the door and saw that Madhvācārya was there. And so he had split into 3 forms. So he was as Bhishma Dev, he was worshiping Krishna. And then as Hanuman, he was worshiping Ramachandra. And then as Madhvācārya, he was worshiping Vyasadeva. So some of these different... Huh?
Bhima, not Bhishma.
Oh, sorry, Bhima, sorry. Thank you for correcting me. As Bhima. So that, those things were going on. And then I have one other thing to say, and it just slipped my mind. But anyways, it's like that. But so anyways, there's so much that can be said. There's 2 classes that, there's a couple of classes that His Holiness Bhakti Vikas Maharaj gave on Madhvācārya, and he discusses a lot of these leelas in detail and goes through every single one of them. I've just touched the little tip of it. And then I think it's safe to assume that there's so much more also, because this was practically almost 1,000 years ago. And we can see that usually with time, things kind of get forgotten and kind of get lost and things like that. But anyways, it's just a little bit here of one great Acharya who spread Krishna consciousness and preached Krishna consciousness, and then also shows us to to stick firmly to Krishna consciousness and to always have faith in the Shastra and the devotees, and then also to oppose the improper conclusions given by whatever Mayavads and personalists, whoever, who don't uphold to the true Vedic line. So, anyways, we could stop there if there's any questions or comments or additions onto anything. So, yes.
A few things. Madhvācārya's favorite Upanishad was the Aitareya Upanishad.
Yeah.
It was his favorite. Even his disappearance the way it happened is quite amazing.
You want to tell how that happened? Because I couldn't.
Oh yeah, no. So there's a temple of Lord Shiva opposite the Udupi Krishna temple, and there is the Madhva Pita, the seat of Madhva there. So he was sitting there and giving a class, explaining, commenting on the Aitareya Upanishad. And it is said that the demigods became so pleased with the explanation that they started showering flowers. And he kept showering flowers so much that, he became covered with flowers. And then after some time, the disciples, wondering what happened, is he just completely covered with flowers, and they opened the flowers up and he's no longer there. So that's how he disappeared. There's no samadhi of Madhvācārya because he just disappeared.
Yeah.
So it's kind of amazing. Few things. This Achyuta Gotra, it's interesting because actually it means that now you've identified yourself with Krishna, and you are now a Vaishnava, taken shelter of Krishna. But it's funny that nowadays, at least the caste brahmanas, if somebody doesn't know their gotra, they say, oh, Achyuta Gotra. And generally, now, at least among the caste brahmanas, later, this Achyuta Gotra is used like a derogatory term. It's used for those who have no clue of what their lineage is, who don't know their lineage, who are just too fallen, like this. Oh, you're Achyuta Gotra. So yeah, Achyuta Gotra means you're like some untouchable, like some low class, fellow, whereas we're from whatever, Gautama Gotra or Bharadwaja Gotra or whatever, So it's kind of funny how, just like how in Bhaktivinoda Thakur's time, the word Vaishnava is just refer to some low class person, So like that. And then you were mentioning about Prabhupada not wanting to go to some conference with the Mayavadis, and like that. It's interesting because, we still get invited. This Nityananda rascal invited us for some Mahakumbha in Los Angeles. I don't know how many people went, how big that event was anyways, but And then, when this story of how Madhvācārya appeared is because Brahma approached Supreme Lord and said the situation in the world is so bad. And I used to read about these things, and I've read about Madhvācārya's story before. And this thing about Brahma going and talking to Krishna happens like multiple times. And I used to think, this is kind of before I got Prabhupada's books, I used to think, why isn't nobody going and talking to Vishnu right now? Because the situation in the world is worse than what I saw there. I mean, it sounds like when Madhva was living, things were pretty good. I mean, at least from today's perspective. And it was kind of like, I even used to ask questions about like that to sometimes Vaishnava, sometimes Mayavad. Because I used to go and hear all kinds of classes back then, and nobody would really have a proper answer to this. They say, oh no, it's Kali Yuga. I'm like, Kali Yuga then also. It was Kali Yuga then. Why isn't it required right now? Don't ask these kind of questions. And so, but then, Prabhupada's purport gives the answer.
Yeah.
Prabhupada says, Lord Chaitanya's movement, that the Krishna conscious movement is an incarnation of the Supreme Lord. And it's come to deliver the fallen conditioned souls.
Yeah.
And that, so the Krishna conscious movement is an incarnation. Nobody ever said that. Because, I used to wonder, like, wow, these acharyas took so much effort to, like, rectify the situation back in the day and establish, the truth and this and that. And things are literally going to hell right now. And why is nobody coming? Was Supreme Lord? It almost felt like there was a disconnect between what was spoken in Shastra
Yeah.
and what was happening right now. And only Srila Prabhupada's books made me, like, convinced, well, actually, Shastra is not some ancient, like, folklore with some high philosophy,
Yeah.
but actually it's current and valid and applicable today. And Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita really brings this out. It's like, how amazing. I don't know, every time I read Bhagavad Gita, I feel like a dunce. I feel like, I'm reading it for the first time. Just feel completely ignorant. So amazing. And then this grieving for a loss of a son. It's actually a heavy thing, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, it kind of hit me because Sheshashai, he has 2 sons right now, but he had a son before that. And that son passed away. I don't know the exact details, whether the son was stillborn, or the son, like, lived for some time and then passed. Seems like son lived for some time and then passed away. But either way, whenever he talks about it, you can feel the heaviness. Sometimes he, like, mentions.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, and he already has 2 sons now.
Yeah.
But it's like, and that was his first son. It was a while ago. But, he does the Shraddh ceremony for that son every year. And still grieves about it.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's kind of amazing. So I'm just thinking about how difficult it might have been for
Yeah.
Madhvācārya's parents.
Yeah.
And like that, so, yeah.
Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, I was thinking with the previous comment you made that I was going to say something about it, but, like, it seemed like you're kind of saying, like, the situation in the world today is just, like, so bad, and it's like, well, who's, like, coming? But then I sent Mitchell on that text, but it's Krishna is still sending devotees here,
Yeah, yeah.
though it's like it may not, like, be doing magical things like how Madhvācārya did, but we have that story. I don't like to say story because then it's like, well, the history with Bhavananda saying that, expressing that Krishna told Srila Prabhupada, like, to come here, and then, like, that.
Yeah, yeah.
So then it's like it still, like, goes on.
Yeah.
We may not even, like, recognize it because, like, we're, like, here right now, but then maybe, like, later some of those things will get revealed by, like, other acharyas that, like, come and then they kind of, like, explain some things more.
Yeah.
So we're so close. But yeah. Yes.
There's a comment and a question. What Vishnu Chittaprabhu was saying about the son leaving, and whenever I speak to Chandrasekhar Prabhu, he always glorifies the life of Srila Prabhupada, and he mentions to me on multiple occasions, he says that not many people know that Prabhupada had 8 children. 5 of them were alive, but Prabhupada had 3 children that passed away. And he always just glorifies. It's really amazing to witness the personal relationship that the disciples have with their guru, Prabhupada's disciples. So, yeah, that's just a comment. But the point you were making about the false ego and how, some people think, like, better to just destroy the false ego. But you were saying that the ego should be engaged in Krishna's service. That's the constitutional position. So I was thinking about, when our false ego gets in the way of our service, is that, like, symptomized by being contaminated by Mayavad philosophy?
I don't know exactly. I mean, I guess it would just, like, depend. I mean, the thing is, like, when Lord Brahma, like, created, like, the material world, there's, like, certain, like, kleshas that, like, he, like, created, which, like, I believe one of those is just, like false ego. So my understanding is, like, false ego is just, like, the absorption, thinking, like, the body as, like, the self. So as far as, like, that I'm not really so sure how like that would like connect with like Mayavad, like false ego, and then just like getting away of service. It could just be like just more so bodily conception of life and just like thinking like whatever we're like better, this and that, and such. But yeah, I don't really know 100%.
Perhaps like Ahankar was existing before the Mayavad philosophy.
Yeah, I mean, you could say that. Yeah, I mean it's the thing is that like from what I've kind of seen from Prabhupada's books, it seems like impersonalistic philosophy has kind of like been there, but it wasn't like, because the difference between like Brahmavadis and then like straight up Mayavadis. So it seems like the four Kumars, for instance, like they were like Brahmavadis, but like the Shankaracharya's like philosophy is like it's Mayavad, and there's like a distinction, there's like a difference between the two. So it seems like that is something that's kind of like, it doesn't seem like, it's hard to say, it doesn't seem like that Mayavad philosophy, is my speculation, but it doesn't seem like that Mayavad philosophy of Shankaracharya is something that's like spread all over the universe. It seems like it's just something that's just on this planet, like of this like contouring up like that. And it seems like there's other planets in the universe where they're kind of more attached to like this like Brahmavadi, but like they're not offensive to like the Supreme Personality Godhead, because I don't know how you could like be on Brahmaloka or Janaloka or Tapaloka and then just straight up be like an atheist, you know? So that's kind of like there, I don't know, at least from what I've like read and understood. So, yes.
I think I asked someone this once. The other sampradayas don't accept Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as the predicted
Yeah.
incarnation for the age, and they accept Madhvācārya, right? So I don't know if
What?
is it? No.
No, I heard that.
Someone said, yeah. That's all. I was going to see if you could speak. Huh? No, yeah, I get that, but when I spoke with someone, it was that they were saying that's who they do accept. So I was wondering what their basis was, but I guess nobody's ever heard that before.
I never heard that.
Okay,
You
I
heard
was
that,
like,
but you hear that from someone on the street?
no.
Where'd you hear that from?
I don't know. I thought it was in this circle
No,
here.
where did
I
you hear
honestly
that?
thought it was you or something.
Oh, that was him.
Because I remember, I remember asking. I was like, yeah. So if they don't accept Lord Chaitanya, well, then who do they accept? If the other sampradayas don't accept Lord Chaitanya, who do they generally accept?
I don't know. I don't know.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm not like study. They have like their own thing going on in their acharyas and stuff.
So for instance, they say, you see, what we're talking of, for instance, like the Vishnu Sahasranam says, Sannyasakrit Chama Shanta Nishta Shanti Parayanaha. So that Sannyasakrit, they attribute that to incarnations like Naranarayana Rishi, Kapila Dev,
Yeah.
no, sorry, not Kapila, Rishabha, and things like that. And so they have other ways in which they explain that. And other sampradayas, they just don't, like, one of our primary evidences come from Srimad Bhagavatam, but they don't give so much importance to Srimad Bhagavatam. So it's also a way they work around that. I mean, we accept Madhvācārya to be an incarnation of Vayu because the Madhvas say that and they have references. But traditionally, the Ramanujas would not accept that. So there's all kinds of these differences.
Yeah, there's also Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He was saying, Guru Maharaj didn't give so much to that.
And Madhvācāryas, the Tattvavadis won't accept that Ramanuja was incarnation of Lakshman.
Yeah.
Although the Sri Vaishnavas, they accept that.
Yeah. And then
So,
Bhaktivinoda Thakur was saying there was like a meeting with Madhvācārya and Lord Chaitanya.
oh my God.
And then
that's
he
too
was saying that
controversial.
they don't accept that at all.
That's way too controversial. I met a Sri Vaishnava sannyasi who was so upset
Yeah, I remember that.
because someone sent him a copy of Navadvip Dham Mahatmya. I was like, what is this?
Controversial book.
So, He was really flipping out.
Could you, I spaced out, could you you spoke about how Prabhupada, he asked his disciples like why we shouldn't go to this event, or should we go, or something
Yeah.
like this. What was that exactly?
Yeah. Well, wait, before I go there, did Madhya have any questions, or? Okay. What was that? What do you mean exactly what was that?
I think I remember reading this, but
I don't know if it's written down. That was something that Rupanuga Prabhu like personally like told me. I never heard that like that before.
Yeah, he don't want to be on stage with Mayavad. He's not lumped in with him, basically.
Yeah.
Oh.
Like one like speaking like Mayavad, and he can't like do anything, and then it goes to him, and then like Mayavad he speaks after Prabhupada.
Yeah.
Like that.
That was that?
Yeah.
Is it mentioned in the Buddha Krishna?
No, I read that.
but somewhere I read it.
I read this.
The thing like
I thought it was.
because
I think maybe
I know-
Bhagavad Gita conference.
Is it not?
because I know like
some conference. It was some conference.
because I sent that to like Guru Maharaj, like that class, and then he typed that up, or some secretary typed that up. Maybe you typed that up, and then that was sent out on the BVKS Sangha.
Anyways,
Yeah, it was like 2015 or 16 or something like that.
that's
Yeah.
what I thought, because I've come across.
There might have been like multiple things like that, but anyways, I would just
Probably a few, yeah.
yeah.
Anyways, I don't, because, like, when we distribute books to, like the Hindu, like, we distribute books at other, like, whatever, Comic-Cons, like, they can
Yeah.
tell, like, we're not, like, supporting it. And then we
Yeah.
go to the Hindu temple, and it's, like, we're distributing books there, and it's, like, okay, like, but those are, like, actually, like, but then you go to, like, a Sai Baba temple, and it's, like, completely, like,
Yeah.
and then a lot of the time, they, like, take the books, and they're, like, Jai Sai, and you're just, like, like, you're not, like, really saying anything.
Yeah.
Obviously, they got the books, but I can like it could seem sometimes like we're there, we're like supporting it, we're not
Yeah.
saying anything. I don't
I
know.
mean, there's like a difference. Thing is like there's a difference between kind of like, I mean, like you're there and you're like distributing like Srila Prabhupada's books, and you're like, your whole purpose, it's like you're undercover, and it's like you're like directly like opposing everything they're saying. There's a difference between that and then like going to like where all these Mayavadis are, and then like hanging out and like not speaking like Krishna consciousness, and then like like publishing material that is like equating them like on like the level of like other like Vaishnavacharyas and such like that. It's that's kind of like the point. It's like, okay, like if we go to those things, it's like for book distribution, there's like a purpose for that. But we're not like going there just like hang out and like good relations and stuff like that. So anyways, the point is that like we shouldn't just like go and just like chill with them. That's like the main thing. Or like they're okay, we're okay. It's like cool.
Yeah.
But it's not cool. But I mean, we may like out of respect, like like that, like oh Hare Krishna. But it's like he was saying, it's not like we like flew all the way to California just to be a part of this guy's like whatever his Magh Mela thing. So
But Prabhupada didn't even want to speak at an event with them. That's why I was curious, because like
the thing was that
They
Prabhupada,
were speaking. We were there, was speaking. Because Prabhupada also had, there were Mayavadis that
yeah,
came to Krishna Balaram Mandir.
yeah.
That's an important point.
There might be at Krishna
They weren't
Balaram
speaking
Mandir.
their philosophy.
Oh yeah. Well, you kind of said there, but this instance was like a little bit different. But I mean, we also see like Prabhupada at one point in Borijan Prabhu's book, My Glorious Master, when they were in Japan. I forget exactly where, but there was like some Mayavad speaking, and then Prabhupada had them like start kirtan and like cut him off. And then he was like, he spoke the whole time, and they wanted like the other guy to speak, and he was like rude from like materialistic standpoint, and they were like really fried out with him about that. But it's like, I don't know. I mean, that's like there also. That should be like seen. So it wasn't like he was just like, oh, okay, like, but he was like, according to like modern standards, like rude about it. And that's like how to like do it. But there might be like different circumstances, but the point is like not that like, we should like understand that's not okay, and it's dangerous to hear from them and associate with them. And we should like be like, like whatever, like we should be apt on that. If someone comes in here with a gun, like we're gonna be on our guard and like try to get out. So like Mayavad's worse, because that's like, that can kill our propensity to serve Krishna. If you want to like figure out, anyways, not you, but like if you want to figure out what's that like and what's that mean, then like you can go down that route and then watch your devotion for Krishna, your devotion for your guru crumble apart. So it's like it's so dangerous, and all of our acharyas like warn about that.
And sometimes when we go to these things, like as like you said, like a
Yeah.
courtesy thing, like they're like, come take darshan,
Yeah,
and then you
take
like
prasadam.
you're standing in front of Sai, and you're like,
Yeah.
okay, and like maybe even play kirtan. They ask you to do
Yeah.
kirtan, and you're like, there's nothing bona fide to
Yeah.
like play kirtan towards, like necessarily like
Yeah.
manifest in front of your eyes. And so is it? I'm just curious, like, should we like as far as possible even avoid that, or just out of courtesy to be able to distribute books, like do the needful, kind of.
I mean, it like depends. I mean, to distribute. I mean, it's like a situational thing. It's going to change from every situation. Like if you go to one temple and then like you can distribute books, you know, whatever, just like do some like kirtan for like 5 minutes. But if there's a whole other temple that okay, like we want you to do like this maha puja of like some bogus incarnation for like 3 hours, and then chant like this sahasranam to like this bogus incarnation for another 6, and then stay up all night, and like at 12 o'clock we're gonna break fast with like this bogus incarnations, and then like take his like mahaprasad. It's like obviously like don't go there, but you know what I mean? It's like, but then if it's just something like whatever, like, you know, just like Hare Krishna, it's like it has to be like seen like situation. But the point is that like I'm making the point that like there's a difference between like going somewhere and like distributing books, and then like going somewhere and just kind of like hanging out, and then like not preaching Krishna consciousness, or like preaching like yoga, or like whatever, or like compassion, or like gratitude, which is like a lot of things that like go on, and we don't see our acharyas like doing that, or like promoting that. So my point is like following the line of our acharyas, we oppose that, and like we should like openly speak about that. And then these people also, if we're like following that and doing that, then we'll end here, then they won't want us to be around them. And that's a good sign, because I think these people are like so aggressive, or like whatever, they're like not like inclusive. So that's good, like we want that. So anyways, Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srimad Madhvācārya ki.